There's the chimes, here's the bird, and there's our Bella. Hey, everybody.
Little Halloween madness there for you, huh? Right. Hey, everybody. Shane here, dailyastrocat.com. Haven't done this for a while, but hey, welcome to my weekly astrology, the weekly astrological events. I've called it top 5, but there's actually more than 5 in this one here. We've got quite a few things going on. So without any further ado, thank you for watching. Thank you. I hope you do the subscribe thing. I got kind of a unique take on things. And I want to show you some of what goes on in my mind and what I'm looking at when I'm doing these daily reports. So let's take a look at it. So let's do this. Let's actually do the share thing here. All right. So let's do this. We've got ourselves. Let's do this right here. There's our beautiful little altar that we have, that shrine that we do every time. That's what we have at the house. And this is where I do all my work at, right? This is where I'm recording this at right now. So let's get this going, right? So let's take a look. Our first event's going to happen Monday. It's actually, this is for the 27th, but really the first thing I want to talk about is Monday. We've got a couple things going on here. And when I show you this chart, I'm going to go off topic a little bit because I want to show you this right now, because this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a trine between Mars and we've got Neptune right here. Now, not going to pay any attention to the clock face because that is set for Framingham, Massachusetts, which is where I live. Yeah, you just tell people it's Boston, right? It's close enough. They don't need to know anything about Framingham. Now, one thing about this chart that you happen to notice is that there's 2 trines here, and one is brought by the moon, which is right there with Uranus and Pluto. So we've got that trine going on. If you look right here, we've got that nice little thing. That makes a kite between that as well. And those kites are usually, that moon is where we're anchored at emotionally. So we're anchored in the details still. We're still looking at the details of everything moving forward. So this is where we're at. This is what we're doing right now, right? And this is set for the 28th. So you can see 8:38 in the morning. We are anchored in the details. We're moving forward. We're going, pursuing that dream, right? That's why I'm recording, right? This is part of my dream. This is part of what I want to be doing. So this is where that veil wears thin. That's where we go. It's not in the energetic degree of Pisces. It's just that Pisces energy reaching out. We're going intuitive. We're starting to feel. We're starting to have some empathy and show some sensitivity to the things around us. That Mars energy right there, look at that, both in the same degree, both at, 27 degrees in Cancer. Now, Mars is actually going to move out of Cancer this week, so this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Just like we have Mercury down here going to move out of Scorpio. And as soon as Mercury, a couple of days, you're going to see that trine between Mars, Mercury, and Neptune. So we're really moving in this direction, and we're thinking and communicating about these things that we're doing. This water trine is very intuitive. It's very much where we need to be, where I need to be communicating from. For everybody else creatively, that's a very creative place, okay? So your creativity can really take off with this stuff. It's just not all about me or we or anything like that. It's about you guys, right? This is our creativity, and Neptune is very creative. It's also very, it can get very distracted. So we just have to guard for that. With Neptune retrograde, normally Neptune is kind of blowing smoke up us, blowing smoke, just fog, everything. It's just, you can't really get in touch with it. I've got a cat with a wubba behind me. This is kind of endearing, right? Now, with Neptune being in that position retrograde, it kind of reveals some things to us, things that we may have missed, things that we may not know, may not be doing. With that Uranus there being in a trine with Pluto, we're looking at changes, sudden changes, things that we need to know, things that we're working on, things that happen suddenly that we're reviewing, right? They're both retrograde, right? They're both going backwards. They're both in that review process. Pluto's going forward. That's not Not a mistake. And that's going to be entering Aquarius probably in another couple of weeks. So we've got some big changes going on here. And all of these signs in this mini trine right here, they're going to be moving into the next signs. So we got this big shift underway. And we're shifting away from the earth and the water, and we're moving towards air and fire. That's a much more active phase. This is a phase where we're going to be actively doing, creating, and doing things that we need to be doing. So right now, we're just basically going over the things that we've been over time and time again, making sure we're ready for that next stage, and we're going to be moving forward, right? So that's a very important point to make. Now, there's one more thing that I wanted to mention here, and that is that we also have a Chiron-Jupiter position here that's a sextile going to Mercury, and that's a finger of God. That's a yod, okay? Because we've got these two brown lines here going to the sextile, and that's actually the yod right in this position. Now, that yod, normally in a birth chart, it's a pretty decent, these two things are helping to get something that these, they can't see individually, but together they can actually get to us. So what are we talking about? We're talking about communicating intuitively in our ideas in a powerful way. And we're talking about doing it in a way that that ties in our whole being, actually, because this Chiron for me is always about health issues and not necessarily, they call it the wounded healer, and there's an original wound that you have, but there's also just a general overall viewpoint of health that seems to fall into this mundane astrology much better, and it's a much better meaning than like, oh, my big psychic wound from when I was a child. No. Basically, it's just like, hey, your current state of health, what are you doing? What are you doing about it? Chiron and Aries, that's a good place to be taking actions, right? We've got to be on guard for our health. I've not been the best at it lately. Even though I do eat healthy and I stopped drinking, I still need to exercise more. So, I mean, that's something that I'm just trying to work into a routine. Jupiter in Gemini says, yeah, that's a great idea. We can expand on that. You got to start it, right? You got to do it. And it's just, and for me, it's just consistency and trying to keep it moving forward. The Aries part, that makes it very inconsistent. Once Chiron moves into Taurus, which Chiron moves very slowly, so it's not going to be for a while, but you can see that it's getting to this point, right? That's going to be a much easier routine to establish and get into. But for right now, we've really got to safeguard ourselves because we can't get overstressed. And that's something we got to do. Now, the second thing that I want to look at is Mercury square Saturn. So that is going to be happening as well. And I wanted to talk about the square because squares are oppositions. It's an opposition type of energy. It's a conflicting kind of sort of way of going about these things. And with we're talking about 12 degrees of Pisces, and we're talking about 12 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you've got anything in those immutable signs at about 12 degrees, that's something that's going to be affecting you probably a little bit more. It's that power of attraction, that attraction way out there, where Saturn is just like, no, hold on a second. Let's just slow that down. Let's just not go so far afield and wild. That's what slows the plans down. That's what's taken all the changes that we are able to do, that we have on deck, that's coming with this very intuitive Cancer energy with Mars and Cancer, the things that we've set into motion. But just temper your expectations for them. But then again, this is an extra dimensional kind of thing. Down here, this kind of goes like broader. It's more of a spiritual thing. So think about it. And Venus is Venus is in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a very, it's deeper philosophy. It's religion. It's kind of like an organized religion. It's a patriarchal type of sign. So it basically, when you don't come to grips with that kind of thing, or you don't necessarily want to recognize it, that can cause issues where we're just not really paying attention to the things at hand. We think that it's going to come to us naturally. We think, oh my goodness, it's Sagittarius, right? We're going to be world traveling, and it's just going to come to us easy because it's Jupiter's sign, right? It's ruled by Jupiter. No, Jupiter's in Gemini. So this is more of like ideas. This is what we're talking about. And with Gemini, with the ruler of Gemini in Scorpio, once again, it's more intuitive, it's slower, it's more creative focused, and it's something that we're doing. I'd like to think that career is advancing, but that career advancement, that's Saturn, right? Saturn's in Pisces. Saturn is saying, no, you're going to have to feel this deeply, and you're going to have to go with this at, not the same thing. You got to go to the next level. Okay, that's a next level kind of thing. It's not necessarily keeping the same level. It's the next level. Venus in that opposition, Venus and Sagittarius, we want it now. We want it now. It's not going to happen now. It's going to take time. But, the beauty of it is that you do the work, right? That's what Saturn's always about, doing the work and it'll happen. Jupiter, it's money for nothing, right? That's what we're hoping for. Nah, it's going to be work. You got to do the work, okay? Now, on October 30th, we're looking at the day before Halloween. We've got a bunch of stuff going on here, okay? We've got Mercury just kind of hanging out here, and we've got a Mercury-Uranus opposition. Now, this is very interesting because if you think about it, all the stuff that happened back in July when Mars and Uranus were conjunct, and we had assassination attempts and that whole change in the presidential race in the United States and all that. That was something. But now we've got the inquiring mind of Mercury in Scorpio. What does Mercury know? What will Mercury figure out that Uranus perhaps wrought then, or was perhaps changing, right? Or did something. I look at it like that because we've got this sign of Scorpio. That's secrets, right? That's the occult stuff. That's where we really want to go and know more. And with this Uranus down here in Taurus, that's almost the same position that it was in. So we're questioning it. We're questioning what it is that occurred, what it is that happened, why we are at where we are at right now. Okay? What kind of effect is this going to have on us and on anything else? And that is occurring at 25 degrees. So think about things that are 25 degrees of Scorpio or Uranus. Now, what does this mean to you? Well, this means that we always have thoughts that change, right? We had one thought that we had for last summer, and now we've been through the eclipse season. Everything changed. What is it that changed that we can focus on now? What is it that we're missing? What is it that we need to do to move forward and to complete the movement forward? It's these questions that's asked. There's an opposition there, but you think about it. Mercury is in Scorpio. Scorpio has the questions. Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus is some of those rewards, right? It's that earthly stuff. It's what it's working on. It's money. You figure this out, it's money, right? You get to the bottom of what it is that you were thinking back then, and you just make it work a little bit, or you find the reason why it didn't work and you tweak it just a bit, then you move forward, right? I did some of these videos, right around then, 25, 35. I think just a little bit afterwards, September, I was starting to get back into it. But I should have been doing it then, and I should have stayed with it, right? That's where this is taking me. Where will it take you? I don't know. All right. We also have the trine here that I wanted to highlight between Mercury, Neptune, and Mars. This is a very creative boon, okay? We've got this creativity going on. Make sure you're taking advantage of it, okay? Make sure that you are there, and we've got our actions are what's guiding it, and what it's going to do is it's going to change. It's going to change what it means for us right here in the monetary thing, our career-wise, and it's also going to carry that energy through into Aquarius, right? It's bigger ideas. So the ideas that you have, make sure they're big. Make sure they're going to work intuitively. We know it's going to work out for us, but we just have to make sure we are doing that work, because we don't want to get caught up with Saturn saying, hey, you're not really doing the work. We want to do the work. We want to make sure we're doing that work. Now, if you notice right here, we got a bunch of yellow lines. This is the cradle position, okay? This is like our armor. This is like these. Even though Mercury and Uranus are opposing each other and they're asking that question, it's supported by Pluto and Neptune. So there's some changes in there. There's some dream changes. we're on to something if we can just get moving along that line, right? We're onto it. The dream is supported by the actions, by what we're doing, what we've seen, right? That Pluto is opposite that. Look at, not only can you take the Neptune, look at this, the Uranus and Mercury and trace a line to it, but you can also take Mars and go to Uranus and go to Neptune and go to Pluto. So it just extends that one more thing, and it actually kind of goes right around. If we had that moon in a different position, we would have had that whole stop sign, right? We would have had that whole thing where it's just like, boom, power shell. And now we're going to move forward. Maybe we do take advantage of that power shell with the Libra. That's where we come up with this, when it passed that nodal point, right where dark moon Lilith is. We've got that going on, okay? You've got that, and you got this. You can rock this if you really pay attention to what it is that where we're heading and what our goals are, and you stick to it. It's got to be consistent. It's got to have a routine, right? Mercury, besides being the ruler of Gemini, is also the ruler of Virgo, and bringing that Virgo energy into Scorpio just magnifies the earthly plans for this, the details, right? That's what we got to focus on. All right, so now we already talked about this Mars Grand Trine, so I'm not going to really beat this point in the ground. We have a new moon coming up in Scorpio, and that's going to be on the 1st. This is going to be very important. We've just gone through this Aries culmination where we've done things. We did things. We were bold. We talked about things. I'm not good at talking about myself, but I am good at talking with other people. And, when I have to advocate for myself, particularly at work, it's very awkward, and something that I did. And I made sure that I did it. I reached out, and pretty much on the verge of a change there. And it may be that shift change that I was talking about for career, right? Very, very close to it. Could something still go wrong? Of course it could. You just never know about these things. However, Carrie's done the same thing. She's got a little bit. She was able to stabilize her situation, put it that way. Not so much overtime, but she didn't want to do the overtime, to tell you the God's honest truth. This eclipse in Scorpio is at 9 degrees. So think about 9 degrees. Think about 9 degrees of the fixed signs, or think about 9 degrees in any of those water signs. Have you got planets in those positions? We're talking to you right now. I think pretty much my Mars or Venus may very well be in that position. So this is going to be quite a revelation for me as far as what it is that I'm going to be able to do, only because my intuitive powers are working really well. And what it is that I think a couple of things. I think the election is going to be quite interesting. I think it's going to be a surprise, no surprise. Hello. And I think that there'll be a lot of people out there that will be unhappy, and I think there will be some people out there that will be ecstatic. So take from that what you will. If you've listened to me long enough, you know what way I'm going to go on this. And that's just the way it is, right? On the very next day, we're going to have Mercury entering Sagittarius. Here's Mercury entering the sign of Sagittarius. We get out of the Scorpio, so we're through that critical point in Scorpio where we're really just focused on that power, right? I mean, that is just going to be like, oh, that's going to be overwhelming. So somewhere between Samhain and All Souls Day, we're going to have this feeling like the gates are opening up, right? The gates to the underworld. Look at Pluto's right there. Pluto's right there. It's a sextile. Okay? Those gates open up. Persephone, is there in all her glory. And that Virgo, that Mercury ties that right together. Make sure you eat your pomegranate that day, okay? Make sure you have your seeds. Make sure you honor these traditions and everything before Mercury goes into Sagittarius the next day. We're famous for buying a pomegranate and just leaving it and not even touching it. And I'm just, I'm begging this year that we not do that. We also have the exact trine between Mars and Mercury. And believe it or not, Mars is going to move into Leo the very next day. That's how fast these planets are moving, okay? We had Mercury at 25 degrees. By the end of the week, we have Mercury entering Sagittarius. We had Mars at 27 degrees. By the beginning of next week, the next Sunday, Mars will be entering Leo. And we have Neptune right here. Why do I have Neptune singled out? Why do I have Neptune singled out? We have Neptune singled out because that's where our sun is trine with. No, we don't have sun trine with that. We have Mars trine with that, and we have the moon trine with that. The moon is actually trine with Neptune. It makes us a very good day for ideas and stuff like that. And that's something we got to move along with. And here we have our Jupiter Chiron. Jupiter Chiron are actually in that direct sextile right now, but you can see that Mercury's moved on. So we no longer have that yod position. And the moon is actually at 24 degrees. She may have entered that yod position the same as Mercury. So, that's where you're feeling what we were putting down at the beginning of the week. Towards the end of the week, you're feeling it. If you stuck with it, hopefully you did. We're right there. So, look, thank you so much for joining us. Make AstroCat part of your daily routine. The podcast is on YouTube, and it's also wherever you get your podcasts, and it's at daily-astrocat.com, right? So you can get the podcast right here on YouTube, or you can go to wherever you get your... Some people get it from Apple, right? I listen to it on Apple occasionally. I listen to it on YouTube occasionally. Sometimes I go right to the website, and the player is right at the website at daily-astrocat.com as well. So, hey, subscribe, click the bell, hit the bell for notifications. We appreciate it. Appreciate every single one of you, each and every single one of you. Thank you very much for listening. Happy astrocatting. All right, stopping sharing, and thank you very much. Not much camera time, but that's okay. Take care and have a great day. Thank you.